All right, guys. GM. I think we're live. Let me just check. Tech. Yep, I can see us live. Awesome. Hi, guys. Hi, everyone. Thanks for being here, connected. So today's talk is about trustless agents, ERC 8004, for those who know. We're going to be talking about decentralized AI agents versus centralized solutions. So how to fight the good fight, I guess. This live is like 1 month after ERC 8004 went live. So I feel like it's the good moment to be talking about this. And so we have, you'll see plenty of partners that cover different areas of this AI subject. So why don't we just start with going around and presenting ourselves. I'll introduce myself first. I'm Benjamin. I'm lead marketing at iExec. iExec, what is it? We are a privacy solutions. We build tools for builders to make privacy easy using TEE technology. Arpit, do you want to go?
Thank you, Benjamin. Hi, everyone. My name is Arpit. I'm head of ecosystem at Aethir. Aethir is a decentralized GPU marketplace. We have over 435,000 GPUs spread across 95 countries. So we are enabling this decentralized AI revolution every day by providing highly accessible and cost-effective GPU solutions for builders. Excited to be part of this panel.
Awesome. Thanks, Arpit. Vlad, do you want to go next?
Yep, sure. So Vlad here, head NVIDIA at ChainGPT. So far, ChainGPT started as a Web3 infrastructure. We still have this business unit up and running and releasing AI Hub version 2. It's like a hub combining all of our AI tools for end users, for builders at one place. AI Hub version 2 goes live on December the 15th. On top of that, we have 2 launchpads. We have labs for incubation, acceleration, and VC investments. We have Buzz campaigns, which is actually a Mindshare engine built on top of ChainGPT pad, doing super great. And we are building, for almost 3 years, AIVM, the first full on-chain AI blockchain, layer 1. I haven't mentioned it. Yeah, and it goes live in terms of testing campaign in Q1 2026. So a lot of stuff going on at ChainGPT, and keep building.
Awesome. A lot of launches at ChainGPT. Awesome. And Francis?
Yes. So I'm Francis. I'm the CTO at iExec. And as Benjamin said, we provide privacy-preserving tools for developers. We've been around for a long time. We come from decentralized cloud computing infrastructure. And what we've done in the recent years is make that experience of building privacy-preserving applications very easy for developers with very easy to integrate tools into any Web3 application. And we've been really focusing on the AI vertical recently because we know that if this market is to grow, it needs to take into account the notion of trust, privacy, and make sure that everybody keep the ownership of what their digital estate is.
Awesome. We also probably will have Will from RIO that will be joining. He is running a little bit late, but I mean, that's what you have when you have a panel. You always have to have a panelist that will that will be late. So that's fine. Probably he'll be here soon enough. And one thing I didn't mention, but we are all part of the AI Unbundled Alliance. So it makes even more sense to be talking about AI right now. Okay, so I guess my first question would be, this question is for everyone, but I'll probably start with Vlad from ChainGPT. So what is ERC 8004, if you can explain that? And also, how does that impact your business, your roadmap? You got plenty of stuff on the roadmap. How does that impact you, this protocol, this structuring of decentralized and trustless AI agents at ChainGPT?
So you decided to ask a BD guy deep technical questions. Understood. Okay, I can give you an explanation for our audience from the BD perspective and from the perspective of a guy who's here building since 2017 and understands something, right? So what ERC for 8004 is actually? Well, ERC 004, 8004 is an Ethereum standard. What's the purpose, right? So first of all, what kind of question issue it resolves, right? So it resolves basically how to make AI agents prove who it is, who he is, what it did, and what it did like exactly, right? Task, where he got this information from, yada yada yada. How to prove that we're assuming like a proper information, right? So three key registers on blockchains is actually the first one, identity registry, like on-chain ID of an agent. Second one is reputation registry, reputation of this agent within the whole blockchain ecosystem. And the third stuff is actually validation registry, validation of, well, performing task. Exactly. That's what ERC standard brings to us, allowing everyone push those agents coming across different ecosystems, yada yada yada. And opposite, we have like well-known OpenAI, Google Cloud, AWS, whatever, who are actually controlling all of those agents, and reputation or tasks performed within like AWS, let's say, would not be the same for OpenAI because this agent builds reputation within only AWS bubble, if I can say it right. It's not publicly available. That's the stuff ERC wants to resolve, and basically pushing blockchain and Web3 as a whole, making all of the stuff transparent on blockchain, publicly available, not controlled by enterprises, and that's the stuff. At ChainGPT, we have seen actually the standard. We haven't pushed it so far much, just because our tools, yeah, they have any sort of on-chain capabilities, but they're like off-chain most likely. So I would not say that it's like a mandatory narrative and standard we're looking to implement, just because it's not actually the issue. We keep stuff off-chain, if I can say so. But
Yeah.
happy to dig deeper and happy to listen for other experts on the stream.
Awesome. Arpit, at Aethir, I know that you also push a lot. So you guys do decentralized computing, but you work a lot on. Oh, here we are. We have also Will from RIO that had just joined us. Hi, Will.
Oh, Mike.
We'll let you sort out your mic. I think the mic isn't working yet, but we'll catch up with you.
I should be good now.
Yeah.
Oh, there
all
you go.
good. All good.
Yeah, I'm so sorry, guys. It was in my diary for like a little bit later, so totally my fault. My bad.
That's okay. Before we jump into the next question, do you maybe want to introduce yourself, introduce RIO?
Love to. So yeah, I'm Kemp. I am head of ecosystem at AR.io. So for folks that don't know, we operate the bulk of the upload, indexing, and download infrastructure for Arweave. So we operate some big high availability centralized services. One's called Turbo, which mostly handles uploads. And then the other is Arweave.net, which is like the primary gateway that people access data from. And then AR.io network is an effort to decentralize that whole stack, right? To provide a proper meaningful story for decentralizing not just like the underlying storage, but importantly, like how you access all of that. Because if you compare it to, I think every other decentralized storage protocol, pretty much like that access layer, that top layer is not decentralized. Lots of like centralized gateway URLs or no incentive mechanism for retrieving data. So that's kind of where we're mostly focused. Team are great, been building in the space for years. It's been awesome building with you guys at iExec as well over the last couple of months. So yeah, thanks for having us here, lads.
Awesome. Yeah, so Arpit, going back to you, I was going to ask, when we look at centralized agent solutions, I know that ChatGPT just launched maybe a month ago, but like AgentKit, so they're working on bringing to the general public the notion of agents. what is the best way to, what would be like the critical problems decentralized AI agent systems can solve that OpenAI or other centralized approaches can simply not?
So I think that's an interesting one. So there are many fundamental things here that we need to look at, right? So to start with, yes, centralized AI has a lot of advantages for sure, and we have seen it in the last couple of years. There is no doubt about it, but there are some fundamental limitations also. So you just see, like, I think a couple of weeks back, Cloudflare issue happened, right? And Claude was down, ChatGPT was down, pretty much everything was down, right? So that's how fragile our tech is today, and we really need to take that in, because there are like simple single points of failure. So if I were to put this in a better way, probably, so there is this risk of single party failing, which will take down with it everything. So if you look at AI applications today, I would wager like majority of them are a wrapper of some sort on either Claude models or ChatGPT or OpenAI models, etc. Right? So, and when one of these fundamental services goes down, everything goes down with it. So there is this big risk of single point of failure. That's one. Second thing is censorship, and we have seen this in various instances, including the presidential elections, that models fundamentally they can be censored. The models can be tweaked so that they promote one way of thinking, and even when people won't realize, they are really consuming information which is really not factual. It might very well be biased, and all of these things happen when one single company controls the models, weights, training data, everything. So that censorship and the integrity, I would say, integrity of the model is the second issue. Third thing, which I feel the decentralized AI or ERC 804 and similar models will solve is verifiable AI. So right now, again, if you look at any of the AI applications, and there was a very interesting case that there was this AI company which was backed by the big, top VCs, and in the back end they had a bunch of engineers who were actually doing coding, right? So that was a unfortunate case, right? So there is this big. I would say there is a strong case for verifiable AI, which means that what model was run, without of course, without revealing sensitive information which is sensitive to business, etc. So that verifiable AI is second piece. And then third piece is machine native payments and incentives, which really ties back into the bigger crypto thesis, right? So you don't need and even interesting thing, even if ChatGPT, of course, released this agent kit, right? But even then they assume a human being with an access to credit card, access to bank accounts, which will pay for all of those operations, right? So these agents are still, I would say, so there is a spectrum of agents. So there are agents which are dependent on humans. So these are just that first version of agents which are really dependent on humans. And if you go across this spectrum, on the other end, you will have autonomous agents which will take decisions, which will make payments, etc., which are only possible by decentralized AI, right? So yes, it is difficult, but I think that's where decentralized AI really, really wins over centralized one.
Awesome. Okay, very complete answer. I kind of want to have also, Francis, your opinion on this regarding, obviously, privacy was a huge thing this year. How does decentralized AI also, not natively, but how can it bring privacy and allow that overlay of privacy towards AI?
Yeah, I think when we talk about decentralization, what we really mean about that also is how we bring trust and censorship resistant to AI agents. So that's been our focus, as you know, Benjamin, and that's where we see how T's can enable confidential execution of those AI agents. How do you share private and confidential information regarding keys that you delegate to your agent? How do you make sure that that whole process is secured? The whole AI pipeline is secured. When we talk about ERC 8004, there are three, as we said, there are three registries that are really important to make that model work: the identity registry, the reputation, and the validation registry. What we see here from an iExec perspective is that this whole new paradigm needs trust as well. We're talking about trustless agents, but that trust is based on reputation and validation. How do we ensure that this reputation is calculated, is determined in a immutable way or a tamper-resistant way? So 8004 is really the way to go, but still there are some part of the design to really focus on in terms of trust as well.
Okay. Well, speaking of trusts, I know ERC 8004 doesn't have like a specific direction on this, so I'm interested in you guys' opinion on this. But so do you see AI agents designed more like human tools that would have transferable reputations to the owners, or more like these autonomous entities that would have like soul-bound reputation? Where do you see the agentic AI going? I don't know if any one of you would have an opinion on that, I guess.
I think there's a missing need. So we've created like this standard around 8004. It almost feels like there's this protocol that needs to be built that is going to like do something with that information, and like almost like a network that like validates all of that information and makes it easily available to people. I think if we get that right, and you can create that kind of like easy to access, easy to understand, like trust layer on top of the information that's being stored on chain, then I think it's possible that we have this kind of like decentralized agentic economy. But I think that part of it, I think, is really important, as well as like everything that Arpit and Francis said around like verifiability. If you can't verify that a specific model with specific weights was run, or it was trained on specific data, or it did this specific thing at a specific time, then it kind of like breaks that model, right? It's like really complicated, multi-layered trust system. But I think we're doing some work in this space, and there's a number of teams that are kind of like around 8004 that are doing some interesting work in this space already, I think. And if we get that right, then I think we get that kind of like trustless system where you'll have hopefully permissionless agents. And then Balaji talks about like agents being middle to middle. They can't do end to end. Like you always have a human at one end of the stack. And that's where I hope it goes, is you have like humans calling out to decentralized agents that exist in a trustful, decentralized ecosystem to go and do jobs for them and then bring them back to the humans. I'm not sure we'll ever completely remove humans from the leap. It's quite scary to think about it, but let's see.
Right. Never heard about middle to middle, but yeah, it's kind of reassuring to see that we would have that notion and not just transfer the entire execution end to end to agents. Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm not sure what we'll be doing, but yeah, it's Balaji's term, not mine, but it kind of stuck in my mind.
Vlad?
Yeah, I can jump on it as well. So from my perspective, I see both models actually emerging with different roles, right? In the near term, most useful AI agents will be user bound, just because, well, almost like second brain, for example, or executive assistant that is tightly linked to your identity, data, wallet, whatever, right? They will know your preferences, risk tolerance, contacts, questions you're asking, they will act on your behalf, right? For on-chain soul-bound style identity makes sense here if you want an agent that is accountable to one human with like a persistent reputation that can just be like wiped and restarted, right? At the same time, we'll also see more free-floating services agents. Well, that's what we're going to see for sure. And bots that provide narrow services, pricing, I don't know, routing, accounting, research, monitoring, brainstorming, whatever, and sell their work to many users to other agents, right? So where is agentic AI going? Well, from chat to actions, for sure, from single agents to networks, and from anonymous scripts to identity aware actors, maybe. Yeah.
Arpit?
Yeah, so Vinyan, so I'll just kind of cut this slightly differently than what Kemp and Vlad talked about, right? So if I have to think of this in a mental model or very high level architecture, so there are three things here. So there is who controls the agent itself, and the end beneficiary of what agent is doing, right? So if you look at it from the end beneficiary perspective, then yes, of course, what Cam mentioned, agent is always in the middle, right? Serving purpose of someone sitting at both of the ends of this equation, right? But when you look at it from control perspective, that's where a spectrum will emerge, right? So right now, let's say first will be human anchored. So dev is actually closely working on the agent to ensure that this is working smoothly. Now with 8004, you see there is a reputation part to 8004. So when agent starts executing, still human anchored, and the reputation starts to grow, then the agent might mature into something which has its own transferable ownership to, let's say, some other dev or some other compute provider, etc. And then eventually it will probably grow into, in some use cases, it will probably grow into a truly autonomous entity where it has high enough reputation. Now you can really trust this agent with your money. And then this agent, for example, creates these DeFi strategies for you, puts your money there, gets your yield back, etc., etc. And the dev has really nothing to do in the execution. So yes, from an end beneficiary perspective, agents will always sit in the middle, fulfilling some purpose or the other. But from a dev perspective, there is a spectrum that will emerge. On one end of the spectrum will be human anchored agents, which we are seeing today, where devs are heavily engaged, and then eventually they mature into something which is slightly autonomous and then truly autonomous later.
Yeah, Arpit, I really relate to what you just said on the way, the agent can grow its reputation and get more and more adopted by other agents as well. But I think the ERC right now is lacking a way to, compute that reputation in a standard way, because right now there isn't, like a scale, a reputation scale. So it really depends on how you implement that reputation. So right now, I think it would be very difficult to compare an agent to another, based on the same features that they do. If the reputation is not based on the same logic or the same parameters, it's going to be complex. So there's still ways to go before we get to that level that you just described.
Absolutely. I think absolutely I agree with you on that. Yes, there is a lot of work that needs to go into that.
Yeah.
That's exactly the validation problem I was talking about, Francis. It's like, who's doing that work, right? And maybe there's multiple protocols that do that work, and an agent can move from one to the other, and you have a different score in one protocol than you do in another protocol. But it's going to be super interesting. There's a few teams that are working on this at the moment that are doing some quite cool stuff.
Awesome. So that's reputation. Then there's also liability, I guess. I was thinking, okay, if you add X402, which is a protocol to help payments between non-human entities, you combine that with ERC 8004, you find yourself in situations where probably you don't know who is liable if, in instance, there's a bug and a transaction results in like a loss. Who will? So I guess maybe the question isn't so much in this specific situation what would happen, but I guess who will be the rule makers of tomorrow, who will ultimately be deciding how these situations will go down. If that makes sense.
I think it might be those same people that solve the reputation problem. It's like, you come into our network, we'll give you a stamp of like reputation based on like how we calculate it, and then we'll facilitate the transaction. And I'm thinking that if that is the way that it goes, that it's that protocol's job to make sure that their reputation score is sufficient to like solve this problem. And if it's not, like, what's their solution for, oops, we got this wrong, the agent did something wrong, how do we kind of like cover that loss?
Right. So reputation, would you guys agree? Reputation is ultimately what will decide the.
I think that's very interesting. So I have so when I look at it from real world lens, right? So what happens today? So let's say there is this oil company which is doing something, and then there is an auditor in between. An auditor says that this is investment, AAA rated investment, etc. And then tomorrow something happens, oil spill happens, and the stock crashes, right? So who is really liable? So now here, what I feel is that as a principle, general, like I'm not a lawyer, but still thinking from the first principles, I feel the liability should follow the control. Who controls the substantive part of that business or that agent. So yes, there might be some liability on the person who is attesting on the reputation, but I feel that liability is always limited. So that's like for information purposes, yes, okay, these are our benchmarks and this is where the reputation is, etc., etc. But the real liability lies where the control is. The person who defined the policies, the person who coded, depending on in that journey of autonomousness where the agent is. But I think liability will generally follow control. So that's one. Secondly, we need to really differentiate between standards and liability. Standards will never remove liability. Standards make it easy to do post-mortems when things go wrong. But other than that, like standards are guidelines, right? If something doesn't work out, then people will look at the standard and see what was followed, what was not followed. But liability still lies with the person or the agency or the dev who controls the policies and the underlying working of that particular agent.
Interesting. Standards never remove liability. That's
Yeah, I fully agree here. But at the same time, standards, it takes time to create such standards, to approve them, to make them work, and so on and so forth. In terms of reliability, like even security stuff, maybe it's like not a direct example, but still, majority of hacks we've got in Web3 space of smart contracts that got hacked, protocols got hacked, whatever, all of those were audited by top tier auditors, and still they got hacked. Same stuff here. So reliability, okay, but who's gonna prove it's reliable if even like top tier brands get hacked, and they cannot for sure let you know that you're safe, secure? I'm referring to like smart contracts. What's gonna happen with AI agents?
Yeah, that question, Benjamin, is probably asking a wider question around explainability of AI. Looks like we are progressing very fast in making this ecosystem decentralized, trustless, smarter and smarter. Agents can pay each other to do things, but it looks like we at some point we'll have to revisit how we check and how we are able to explain a decision made by an AI agent, given the fact that we are now operating in privacy mode. So that makes it even more complex, the question around who's accountable for a given situation. So yeah, it's tricky one.
And it might take ages. So progress on AI agent stuff is running super quickly, and I assume all of this regulation, reliability stuff, it just cannot catch up. That's the stuff. So that's the stuff we need to accept. And I assume, yep, of course, having like some sort of policies, terms and conditions is great, but we need to understand that we won't be able to act that quickly. And we would have agents, I don't know, actions performed by those actions not regulated, not fine-tuned into those terms, whatever. So ideally, yes. Realistically, most likely we're never gonna see it within the next like 5-10 years.
okay. Now is the time, like any panel about AI agents, where I have to ask the question. It always comes out at some points with AI agents. If we have verifiable, independent AI agents, is there a world in which it can backfire? It can backfire to the creators. And does ERC 804 enhances the idea of having AI agents backfiring at some point? Does that give way for agents to become more uncontrollable, I guess?
So Benjamin, can you sorry, Vlad, please go on.
Yeah, I wanted to actually clarify what you mean exactly. You mean like agents that are paying royalties to agent creators?
Agents that could create other agents. I mean, the idea is we could imagine like AI agents doing not what we intended them to do. Does building an infrastructure around their verifiability, their independence, does that help making that nightmare scenario more plausible, or it's not a subject, it's not a serious threat, or it has nothing to do with what we're doing with trustless agents? You're going to say something, Arpit?
Yeah, so I think with that clarification, so I honestly like I'm all for imagining this, and I think this is a really exciting idea, right? So agent creating more agents and uh, you know kind of going against the person who created it. But I feel at the stage where we are today in technology, I feel it's a design choice, really, right? So, for example, if I were to kind of take just for the sake of discussion, let's say there is an agent which controls the whole treasury, stops paying the creator the cut, whatever is needed, right? But if you really dig deeper, you will find a dev which did not configure keys and permissions properly, right? So at the end of the day, it all boils down to what permissions have you put in the design of that agent. So for now, I feel most of this is going to be design choices in the foreseeable future, because I don't think there is anything in 8004 which inherently kind of indicates such development in agent space. But you never know. I would be excited to see that happen.
Okay. All right. So, Vlad, you did mention that we're still very much in the early phase of ERC 8004. Even you guys who are building AI agents and virtual machine of AI, you're not like directly impacted right now. What do you believe is the necessary path for ERC 8004 to be more to enter the next phase of adoption, I guess?
Time and adoption. Well, that's what I can tell. Still, we're early, and at the same time, this AI industry as a whole, both Web 2, Web 3, is growing super fast. It's like, and we cannot do proper regulations. We cannot build proper products around it. We cannot build proper tech that is, I don't know, protecting it somehow, controls it somehow, whatever. It's just super fast, and each new iteration, each new version of well-known generic LLMs as ChatGPT, OpenAI, whatever, Claude, Llama, so on and so forth, brings new stuff here, new capabilities, new sort of customization and advanced stuff about LLMs. So it's hard to predict how 004 can operate here, and is it going to be a narrative? Is it going to be the case? It makes sense. That's what I can say. But right now it has two different paths. The first one, okay, we're just going to skip it and come up with a new standard, do something else, whatever, and it just vanish. Second one, okay, we're going to find builders, we're going to build around it, it's going to mature, it's going to be more advanced. We'll see. Right now it's super hard to predict. In 2025, 2026, it's super hard to predict. We'll see. Market and the world, builders, whatever, gonna decide.
Will, do you see any specific criteria we would need to meet to see higher adoption, quicker adoption of decentralized agentic AI?
So there's clearly this like arms race going on, especially in the X402 world, right? Of like supply and demand. It's like everyone went and created all of these X402 endpoints. Like, who's actually going to use this stuff? And then you have, and this is classic when you're building new ecosystems. So it's fine, right? It's part of the journey. So you have like Coinbase with Bazaar. You have, excuse me, Third Web with Nexus. I think their product is trying to create these discoverability layers for AI agents. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that plays out. The point I made earlier, I think, is really important. Like, it really doesn't matter if you store all this stuff off chain if there's no one like taking that information, building a reputation around it, and then putting it into a protocol. That doesn't mean anything, right? It's just like metadata in an NFT. So I think that's really important. It's kind of maybe those two things is how does the market play out between supply and demand, and how do you discover like endpoints for X402 and services? And then similarly for 8004, how does that world play out in terms of calculating reputation, making people be able to access that reputation, and then facilitating transactions based on that reputation within protocols? And my instinct of that is what will happen on the X402 side, is we'll have like an Aave for agents, right, where they process the information, create the actual reputation, and facilitate transactions. So I'm quite interested to see those two sides in particular and kind of where they go. And I think Vlad makes a good point. It's going to take like quite a long time to kind of really to play out, but it's exciting, the different threads that people are pulling on at the moment. And I'm glad that people like Marco from MetaMask is doing that work. And also there's a guy called Samit from Nevermind who's doing something called Chaos Chain in that space. Like people need to be doing this work. It's going to be fun to see it all play out.
Okay, thank you. I guess we're coming up to our last question. Looking at time, trying to be time sensitive. Where do you guys see the agentic economy go 2 years from now? What would you want to see happen in the agentic economy 2 years from now?
Yeah, maybe
go
ahead, Francis.
Yeah, maybe I can give a piece of answer to that one. I was recently to a .ai event, which is pretty much a Web2 event.
Oh shoot, we lost you, I think.
Yeah.
That's when you say Web2, it just freezes your screen.
Cloudflare automatically goes down when you say Web2.
All right, then does anyone else want to jump in?
Yeah, sure, I can. So what I see it actually, well, as for me, I'm looking not into like AI agents that actually help you brainstorm, help you to put different texts, posts, whatever. I'm looking at agents, and I'm referring to LLMs. And in 2 years from now, I assume AI agents would mature, and it's going to be not LLMs, it's going to be LAMs, and they pop up slowly. And if you guys haven't seen it, check it out. It's large action models. And here we're referring to agents that actually own your bank accounts, own your wallets. They can go and buy stuff on Amazon. They can buy you some food. You just ask him, hey, I want to eat blah, 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 blah. Go and buy it. He's going to buy it, find the best price, order it, makes it delivered, so on and so forth. Hey, I'm looking for tickets. So I'm envisioning AI agents to be more some sort of real assistants, like virtual real assistants, rather than like just text to execution model. Yeah, that's my take.
Okay.
Cool. Sorry, I lost the connection for a bit. Yeah, I was just saying that for me, where it should go is in terms of adoption. I'm very bemused by the fact that the concerns that we're talking about around decentralization, privacy, trust is not as high on the priorities of more traditional, AI companies. Even those delivering very high value to their customers. Like there's plenty of them working on medical, working on financial. All these traditional guys, they're very far from what we are talking about now. And my wish and what I hope I would see very soon is this movement towards giving more ownership, more trust to everybody in their everyday life interaction with the AI agents.
Will?
Yeah. Is it where I think it will be or where I hope it will be in 2 years?
I feel like you want to say, well, where you hope it will be.
I mean, like where I think it will be is there will be mostly centralized systems calling out to things that maybe run on decentralized infrastructure. So like you might have like the chat systems that we have today that are like calling out to get data from a decentralized network or to process something on a decentralized network or store something on a decentralized network. Where I hope we get to is that AI can become like default verifiable. So that doesn't necessarily mean that everything needs to run on chain. You can like, a lot of the work that we do is like with AI teams is giving them a mechanism through which to provide like a verification of something that happened in time, and they just like throw that hash on Arweave, and then they can prove the data, they can prove the model. I think that would be really useful. Is like you're using a service, and that service can send you something where you can prove that that did the thing that it said it was going to do. And then I think this trust stuff is going to take a lot longer to come, just because it's such a messy problem. Like I think Arpit is right. It's going to be like who controls this agent is the person that's ultimately liable. And then maybe over time we kind of like that narrows a little bit, and we do get some like autonomous agents that perform very, very narrow tasks in a decentralized way. So yeah, I think the reality is centralized things calling out to maybe decentralized things. I hope we get a lot more built-in verifiability, and then I hope we have made some like good progress and seen some protocols hopefully mature, maybe one or two fall over as well quite dramatically around this trust problem. That would be a cool couple of years, I think.
All right, Arpit, what's your view on the?
Yeah, so I think I feel in 2 years, I definitely see some micro vendor type of agents emerging in crypto. Like I'm not talking about Web2 or the mainstream stuff, but what I'm seeing is in crypto, definitely there are like these micro vendors will definitely come up, like agents which are monitoring your infra, rebalancing your treasuries, checking your smart contracts, etc. Right? So these small micro vendors will start emerging because now the agent rush that we saw in last year, right? So that will mature, and agents which are really solving some problem will emerge, and they will start generating revenues for real. And I also see X402 will start getting more and more adoption. So I think it will still take some time, but in next 2 years, definitely we will have first use cases of machine to machine commerce as a pattern which will start emerging in 2 years. As far as 804 is concerned, I feel that I think 2 years is a reasonable enough time that most trusted agents, they will expose the same identity and reputation interface, and agents which will not adhere to that, they will never get serious capital or attention. So eventually it is like Darwin's law, right? All the agents which are adhering to the standards that 804 or other standards which will come up in the future will set, they will get funding, they will get attention, rest will die off, they will become stronger and stronger.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. Well, I guess that's it for this conversation. Thanks, guys, for all this very interesting input. I have a buttload of words and terminology I didn't have before this, so thank you so much. What I'm getting from all these conversations is how everyone has like learned from the past, and like we have more like realistic views as to how adoption will really happen. But there's also a lot of trust in what's to come, so that's good to see. So thanks, guys, for joining in and sharing.
Thank you.
And, thanks guys for following, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time, guys.
Bye-bye.
Thanks,
Bye.
cheers, guys.